Hello. Today we'll be demonstrating how to start creating vulnerability scans along with giving a quick tour of the vulnerability scanner. That way you can start scanning your network for vulnerabilities with confidence. So starting off, the first thing you want to do is go to the vulnerability scanner tool. The way you would do this is you would go down here till you see vulnerability scanner and click on here. And you'll be brought to the vulnerability scanner kind of like dashboard. This is basically just giving you a summary of what scans have been made so far. Currently we have 0. What CVEs have been created and detected, as well as what we currently have for CVEs, which we'll go over in a little bit. Next, what you want to do is you want to go to Scans and click on Tasks. So you'll be brought to the Tasks page. This is where you can create scanning tasks. The way you would create a scan is you would go up here and you would see these two little icons here. So, Task Wizard is just kind of like a quick wizard if you just want to start scanning immediately. So if I wanted to scan this port just right this minute, I could just start a scan right now, and it will start it. It just uses the default full and fast to do it. Nothing special. It is just there so you can just test out scans as well as just get them out quick. But if you want to make a really in-depth scan that you have catered for your network, what you want to click on is Advanced Task Wizard. So what the Advanced Task Wizard allows you to do is kind of have a little bit more control over what you're actually scanning with. So first you have to give the scan a name. So we'll just call this quick monthly scan. Next, select a type of scan config. By default, you have discovery, empty, full and fast ultimate, deep ultimate, host discovery, and system discovery. You can create your own scan configs that you have catered for your network, but depending on what you have added or removed, that can make you lose NIST compliance. So we suggest just using the defaults we have here. For now, what we highly recommend is using full and fast, since it tends to cover pretty much everything you need covered without hurting your network. Next, you have to give it a target hosts. For example, if I want to target our domain controller, what I can do is I can just go like that, and now it's just going to hit the domain controller. If I want to hit the same network the domain controller is on, then I could just, since the domain controller is /24, we can do this, and now we're hitting the entirety of that network. Next, we have the time we want to start it. We can start it immediately, give it a schedule, or have it start when we say it starts. So if we selected this and hit create, what we're going to see is nothing started. The way you would actually start the scan is by going over here, clicking this button right here, and now start it from there. And that's pretty much it for creating scans themselves, but there's a little bit more you can do. For example, you can go up to configuration and you can actually create pre-made targets, ports, as well as scan configs along with schedules for these to use. So starting with targets, you can actually create targets right here. They include targets you've already made as well as targets that you have made in this page specifically. As we see the monthly scan. We can see that it's currently hitting 254 IP addresses since it's hitting the entire network of here. And you can do a little bit more from here. So you can give the target a name if you want. So let's say main domain. And I want to hit some hosts. You can exclude some hosts. So let's say I want to hit the domain of 172.16.4, not 0.4. Let's do 0.1.0/22. So you want to hit everything in that network. But what we want to do is, let's say I want to exclude, however, all ports that are in 172.16.1.0/0 through 172.16.2.0. So anything between those two actual hosts, I want not available. We can select what kind of ports we want to use to hit it. So if I want to just say all TCP, I can. If I just want to hit only all IANA assigned TCP ports, then I can. I can also hit only the OpenVAS default option. I could do a live test how I want to do it. We could do it by default or maybe just ICMP pings, service pings, etc. So you can do a lot of configurations with how you want to hit the targets, and then you can save it like so. And now we have this all set up to go. So next what we can do is we can go down to scan configs, and we can create our own actual scan configuration file. So let's say I want to have full and fast, but I don't want it to have brute force attacks because brute force attacks tend to hurt my network a bit, and I really don't want that to be occurring. What we can do is we can clone full and fast because you cannot directly actually interact with any of these pre-made configurations, but you can clone them, and then with the new configuration, what we can do is edit it. And now, as we can see, we have this giant list of vulnerabilities that we can have going on or off. So, brute force attack, we can have all of them turned off. And now if we saved it, those vulnerabilities are no longer being used. So if we go back to this list, you'll see that there are 0 being selected. Let's say I want one brute force attack method though on. What we can do is we can actually go into the specific family and we can see all of these. I just want SMB brute force attacks. So I just want these two up and running to check on my Samba share. And I'm just going to save that. It can take a little bit. And now we have 2 brute force attacks being used and the rest are currently offline. So you can get an idea of what you want to use each of these scans for from this. So if you want to make kind of more curated scans for specific things, you can. The only thing that should be noted is a lot of these features you will need in order for you to be NIST compliant. So if you don't have this vulnerability scanner working at full and fast, the same types of NVTs that are already active on here, then there's a very good chance that this might disqualify you at least with this vulnerability scanner for NIST compliance. You would have to either use a different scanner or you would have to use full and fast. That's why we highly recommend using full and fast, just so that you can stay compliant with the NIST guidelines. And now what we can do is go back up here and go to schedules. This is where we can actually create new schedules. That way we can use them to actually schedule tasks for scans. So the way you would create a new one is either A, you can clone ones already made by yourself. You can also edit them if you wish. So let's say I want to edit this October one. I can edit this to be instead of weekly, monthly, change the time it does it, and save. Now it's every month, so now it's going to happen December 7th instead. Or you can create a brandy new one by going up here, creating it from scratch. So let's say I want to do a monthly scan. I want to have it start at 12 o'clock every day, so the middle of the day. I'll have this start on Tuesdays next week. And then from there we can do occurrences. And I want it to be a monthly scan. Save. And then we have a new scan made for next week. So what we can do from here is we can go down to scans and go back to tasks to actually use what we just created for targets, scan configs, and schedules to create a brand new scan. So let's go back to scan tasks for that. So in scan tasks, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and hit new task. So what this does is it allows you to actually add into the inputs what we just created. So we can give it a name of monthly scan. We can select the targets, main domain, let's say, schedule, monthly scan. The scan config we can change to scan full and fast 2. We can either select what kind of scanner we want to use, which is OpenFOSS default or CVE. We suggest OpenFOSS default in this case. We can add results to assets, which will bring it over to the assets page if we find anything. Apply overrides if we wish. Quality of detection will be 70%. Just leave that kind of alone. This usually you want to change just because it tends to have issues with this. Usually you want this to be at least 2 reports. And we can even select the network source interface if we wish. We're just going to leave that alone for now. We can select what kind of host we're going to be hitting. We can do it in sequential order, reverse order, or random. Sequential is just starting from 0, going up to 255, then starting the next one, going up to 255. Reverse would be doing the opposite, so 255 down to 0, and so on and so forth. And then random is, it will just select random interfaces until it runs out of IP addresses to hit. And then finally, you have the maximum concurrent executed NVTs per host and the maximum concurrent scanned hosts. This just tells you how many it can hit at the same time, as well as how many times it can hit it with a NVT. And now we have a new scan ready to go, and we'll wait until the next date. So now what we can do is we can go over to scans again and go down to reports. What we can see here is the reports from the scans we've already done. The immediate scan got us nothing because there's nothing there, but our monthly scan that we made earlier when we first started this video seems to have picked up quite a bit. So what we can do is we can actually select this right here and see the results of the scan. So now we're actually going to see the results. So what we can see is that there's some SSH protocol detection issues going on, some SSL and TLS certifications having issues here. There's quite a few issues that we can look at. And you can get the same thing under results right here. This will just give you kind of like a broad overview of what it's being detected and what it should be looked at. And then finally vulnerabilities, which just tells you the vulnerabilities. So if I just want to see what this high vulnerability is, I can go up here, select high, and now I can see this. And what you can do is actually select this, and it will bring you to a summary of what's going on, the detection method it used, the affected software and operating system, how impactful this can be, and the solution to it, which for this is we configure the SSH service to only provide accept SSH protocol version SSH-2. There you go. Now you just have to find the system that's having this issue on, which if we go back, should tell us where it's coming from. So give us a second. Nope. I want to go to protocols. There we go. Give it a second. So this port right here, we're going to have to check out. Whatever device has that IP address, we're going to have to go over and see what's going on with SSH. And that's pretty much it for scans. Next we have assets, which is basically where we have all the assets detected by our current scans. So as we can see, we detected a few different devices. It can give us information like what kind of operating system they're on, what kind of severities each of them tend to have, as well as which IP addresses it uses, as well as maybe host names if it's able to detect that. And it can even give you a topography of what it can find. Next we have operating systems. This just tells you which systems are being used. So as we can see, it's Windows Server 2012, Windows 10, Windows, that's just kind of like a catch-all, and Linux kernel. So we have a Linux system somewhere in here. Next, we have TLS certifications. This is what it's able to detect. As we can see, we have 2 from the NeQter box here, but we also have 1 coming from our domain controller here. And one of them is expired. Which one is expired? We'll find out in a second. Or not. Sometimes it doesn't tell you. Oh, well, I found it. As we can see, our domain controller apparently has a expired TLS for this example. Next, we have SecInfo. This is actually where we can get all of our security information. This is actually what we use to hit the networks with. So we have NVTs. This is what we're hitting with. We also have CVEs that we use, CPEs, oval definitions, cert-bund advisories, and DFN cert advisories. So all these together are found under SecInfo. This is basically everything that we use for references, for vulnerabilities, detecting what's going wrong, etc. And after that, that's pretty much it that you really need to know. We already went over the stuff that you're going to really need for configurations. We don't really need anything under administration, and help just brings you to the user manual for Greenbone, which is what we reference for our scanner. And with that, you are now ready to begin scanning for vulnerabilities on your network. Next video, we will cover the last remaining settings that will need to be looked at for your NeQter box to be fully operational and ready to go. Hope you find this video informative, and if you need more help, you can check out our documentation site online or contact our support team at support@NeQterLabs.com.